back after that short break. Now let's listen to Ms. Gilda Scaffe. She is going to talk about implementing culture within the Sustainable Development Goals. Ms. Gilda is a positive psychology expert, education consultant, and international keynote speaker. She is working to build well being, mental toughness, and resilience in education and organizations around the world. Her passion lies in finding effective ways for individuals to become the architects of their own success and well being. She has a special interest in enhancing evidence-based knowledge in school interventions. She works with schools around the world to empower learners of all ages with the knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes to address the interconnected global challenges we are facing, including climate change, environmental degradation, loss of biodiversity, poverty, and inequality through curriculums, programs, or activities. Thank you so much, Gilda. Madam Gilda, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me on. And I'm absolutely delighted to talk about something so poignant and so topical at the moment. And I'm going to start with culture. Now, culture is the glue that binds humanity together. From our tradition and practices passed down to us for over generations, to our creative expression of the world around us, and our innovative imagination of the future, culture is around us. And yet, in the UN Agenda for 2030, there is no specific goal on culture. It's not formally recognized alongside the three pillars of development on the social, economical, and environmental. Now, the reason I want to talk to you about how culture relates to the other sustainable development goals. Now, Raymond Williams, which was a historian and literary critic, wrote that culture is one of the 2 or 3 most complicated words in the English language. So when we approach culture from a global perspective, this inherent complexity, it's multiplied by over 6,500 official languages worldwide. But culture offers exploratory, interrogative, critical approaches to the world and its systems, and nourishes our ability to identify and analyze current and complex challenges that need transversal and multidisciplinary response to be understood and acted upon. Now, the sustainability concept is usually based on the 3 pillars which I just mentioned, but a cultural pillar is necessary for its value in the creation of collective narrative, its ability to consolidate, communicate, and foster diversity and inclusion as an essential element in sustainability. Now, culture is highly relevant for implementing each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and I want to summarize the correlation between some of them. And I'm going to start with one which is the most relevant, the poverty. The goal number 1, the poverty, and all its form everywhere in the world. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we can finish that? I think we can end that somehow, because it's as a Western, living in a Western world, I live in the UK, we talk about poverty, we think we know, we understand. Now, when I go abroad, when I go to visit India and some of the South African countries, I realize what actually poverty means and how that actually shapes everything. Now, culture has the potential to play a key role in combating poverty. Poverty is a complex phenomenon with a strong social dimension as well as economic component. But cultural participation and cultural expression contributes to personal fulfillment and empowerment of people. It brings social recognition of isolated groups, resolution of intercultural changes, and the development of necessary skills to deal with the complexity of the world needed in society today and in the professional landscape. We assume that we all feel and understand the same way. We don't, because our environment is very different. We need to develop inclusive and participatory approach to culture to ensure recognition of these diverse cultures. But also we need to foster some synergies between education and culture, both in formal and informal settings. The integration of culture, arts, creativity in education process and in a lifelong learning processes enhances knowledge acquisition and development of certain skills which we need for the 21st century. We also need to ensure fair working conditions for everyone to fight the increasing precarization based on discontinuous work. In particular, to address the increasing economic and social vulnerability, artists and cultural professionals, it's that visibility which we need to give to different cultures to be at the forefront of everything we do or we see in a global environment. The second goal which I wanted, and this is very close to my heart, it relates to the healthy living, and this is what I do, and the flourishing. We all want to flourish as a community, as a global community. The World Health Organization defines health as a state of completely physical, mental, and social well-being. And its numerous research studies have established the link between cultural participation and well-being, a link between psychological well-being of individuals and participation and engagement in various cultural activities. And that has been proven to improve life satisfaction. Now, given recognition of the links between the health and well-being, the Sustainable Development Goals and the sustainable development as a whole, there is a need for a framework to guide this more integrated action. Now, this framework will focus on the interdependencies between the goals and encourage connections among different sectors. For example, the impact of better health and well-being on poverty reduction, and increased equality as a result, and achieving overall sustainable development can be realized through more collaborative efforts between health and non-health sectors, and also globally between different countries. We need to align our views about what flourishing means on culturally as well. Now, I would like to draw attention to the role of mental health in most, if not all, of the 17 developmental goals, partly because we know how COVID has impacted all of us globally. And some of us, we recognize the impact. Some of us, we kind of try still to make sense of things. But ultimately, there has been an increase, a rise on mental health issues. So reducing the mental health problems and suffering, it's important in itself. In addition, good mental health is related to our ability to reach all these goals, as the very definition of mental health reflects. Now, we know that goals are universal and mental health concern all. Doesn't matter if you're rich, doesn't matter if you're poor, to one point or another, your mental health is going to suffer and you're going to see it. And you need to be equipped for that. Now, we need that interdisciplinary and intersectoral solution to reach the sustainable goal, because we need to empower our kids. We need to give the kids the right skill set, because when they go into the workforce, it will be like a snowball effect almost. So we argue that the efforts to eradicate poverty, preventing conflict and disasters, and promote education will not be successful unless mental health is prioritized. Poor mental health and unfulfilled human potential poses an incredible and huge and major risk to the changes that are needed if we were to reach all these 17 goals. Poverty, marginalization, violence, complex emergencies like COVID, violences of human rights threaten both human development and sustainable economic development, and constitute an important context for global mental health. For the first time, mental health is explicitly included in universally agreed goals, providing an opportunity to enhance the mental health of individuals and organizations and well-being across countries and different professional disciplines. Now, to fully use this opportunity, care for people with mental health illnesses and psychosocial disabilities, as well as promotion of resilience and mental generally, must be prioritized. But we have to stop being reactive to it. Everywhere I go in the world and I talk about the mental health issues, everybody thinking, how do we fix it? But how about if we have a different approach? How about if we put in the preventative measure as early as possible in our schools, in our kindergartens, in our society, through parenting classes, through everything we have on our fingertips, social media, to actually explain people what is to be well, does it mean to be flourishing, how do you regulate your emotion, how do you take care of yourself before you get to the point where you are almost broken and you need treatment. So for me, it's very much shifting from the traditional psychology into the positive and existential psychology, where we're looking at, we know that through suffering we build resilience. There is no doubt about that. We know that. But we don't necessarily need to suffer in silence. We need to talk about it, and we need to acknowledge, but also we need to empower ourselves by really taking accountability about our journey towards flourishing, learning to find the right skill set, learning to understand how we feel and label our emotion. Because when we look at the whole world, the humanitarian crisis, either caused by the natural disaster or the conflict, not only destroy schools, but negatively impact on the ability to learn, impact that trauma, impacts young people and individuals to kind of come to a breaking point. But quality education can promote and protect mental health through knowledge and life skills, provision of safety and meaningful activities, and social networks. There are so many programs which enhances, and for me, my drive is always to bridge that gap between research and practice, and support as many educators and as many schools and as many individuals I possibly can to actually understand what flourishing is and give them the right skills to do that. Now, interrelatedness is the case throughout the lifespan and is very evident in early childhood. Now, similar to mental health, early childhood development is an integral part of reaching those sustainable development goals, and mentioned specifically under the goal number 4 on education. So early deprivation and toxic stress can impair physical and mental health, education, and other important developmental areas. But also poor parenting can change the brain chemistry and architecture, also for subsequent generation. Intervention early in life sets a trajectory for good life, long life health, and can lead to lower incidence and non-communicative diseases. So we need to further develop synergies with different policies areas by including a cultural dimension in various policy and funding programs related to the health and well-being policies. Because we know sometimes, you take dance, or you take even a movie in Bollywood, they give you learn so much from it, but we watch it as just as an entertainment. We don't look at the little nuances beyond it. So we need to promote that culture as one of the fundamental elements of physical, mental, and social health and well-being for all at all ages, and integrate access to culture as one of the priorities of health and well-being policies. Now, we also need to involve different communities of practitioners, and don't be afraid to reach out anywhere in the world, because people are hungry to help, hungry to give the expertise, hungry to see change, because we all live in such an interconnected world at the moment. And if we don't help each other, if we always live in silos, it's not going to be sustainable. We need to bring ourselves together. We need to ask questions. We should never stop asking questions. And we need to create a society where we all have a psychological safety environment where we feel safe to say how we talk and how we feel and how we bring our expertise to life. And I know we're running out of time, but I just want to say one more thing, that we need to develop that cross-cultural strategy for education, because it's so important to cross in multidisciplinary topics, bringing, for example, the health, the poverty, everything into under one umbrella to be reflected in policy and programs. And the key steps to drive forward this synergy, it's very much laid in between all this correlation between all the goals. So we need to recognize the equal value of culture and arts in education, mental health, well-being, to recognize how can we eradicate one small step at a time the poverty and inclusion and diversity in our society, because ultimately we all live on a planet and we all need to support each other. We're not to be a crutch, but to support each other, to seek help and not to be judged. We live in a world of tolerance. However angry we might feel at times and disheartened, I think it's important to realize that we're not alone and other people feel the same way. And be mindful of your reaction, because sometimes as people, we react in such a negative way because we go through a kind of a tough time or a trauma. Now, being a little bit more mindful, it's really important. Being present and reach out to anyone in the community, because there will be so many people and experts who will be very much willing to help any communities to flourish. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gilda, for that inspiring session. Thank you so much for joining us today, and looking forward to working with you in the future as well.
My pleasure.
Thank you.